sponsored by Dennis J. Courtney, M.D., Director of the Courtney Medical Group, located at 3075 Washington Road in McMurray, Pennsylvania. For more information or to make an appointment, call 724-942-3002. That's 724-942-3002 for Dennis J. Courtney, M.D.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to AM Impact on Your Health. AM Impact on Your Health, where every day our goal is to have you learn at least one thing to help you live better and longer. AM Impact on Your Health is heard each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9 o'clock. I'm Dr. Dennis Courtney, and I'm with you each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9. AM Impact on Your Health, for each day you'll find current medical news, knowledgeable guests, fascinating health topics, and of course, where we do encourage you to call in to join in. Today, the guest of ours today, it's been at least 2 years since we had her here on our show. She is a walking, talking, breathing example of what can go wrong environmentally, and her saga, is told in a book by her entitled Silent Enemy, Environmental Illness, and One Woman's Search for a Cure, and what a search that really turned out to be. Her name is Faye Hueston. She is our featured guest today, talking about her book of the same title I mentioned a moment ago. If in the course of our discussion with Faye you want to call in to ask a question or make a comment, the number, of course, as always, will be 412-825-6262. That's 412-825-6262. The story of Faye Hueston is an unbelievable one, and we'll get right at it right after our first break today. Now, as the month is shaping up, and of course, we have turned the page, folks. We left you in September. We return in October, and today, with Faye, we start off our October schedule. On Wednesday, talking about Vavoom herself, Susan Smith-Jones will be back with us. She switched gears on me. She wanted to change topics. It's on compassion of some type. I'm not really sure. I have some emails that I'll be checking out between now and the show. But it is her in the flesh. Dr. Susan Smith-Jones will be our guest on Wednesday. By the way, MCG testing has returned. You can take that to the bank. It's here, and it will be, many of you are signed up for this retesting for first testing. We have an entire schedule on Thursday the 6th, and much more on MCG testing up and coming. You know it as the great study, insurance-covered study, 6-minute test while lying on a bed gives you the exact same information as a full-blown cardiac catheterization without any of that risk. So you want to take me up on this. Also, too, finding out what your status might be with respect to those coronary arteries, and then executing a plan which enables you to reverse that disease and then have a documented way to see that reversal occur, I think is the real hidden beauty behind the bonus that comes with MCG testing. So that will be on the 6th. Up and coming, we'll be having frequent testing days now because, well, we have procured the device. It's now here. We don't have to wait for Jerry to come and work us into his schedule. We can come up with a schedule on our own. MCG testing returns this week. Then next Monday, at least I believe it to be next Monday, I got an email saying that they've confirmed they'll be on our show on October 9th. And as I looked at it today, that can't be. That's a Sunday. So I've got an email to Emil Shandell, a gentleman who lived in Pittsburgh about a year ago. Actually, it was in March, so it's not completely a year yet. He's from American Metabolic Laboratories. We'll be talking about cancer profiling. There is a very sensitive set of tests that are available to the general public with the doctor's prescription. Of course, we'll talk about how we'll be the draw station for it. But this CA profile utilizes HCG, manufactured by the tumor, the malignancy. In just about every case, HCG testing will be definitive, and 12 cells will make it so. A cluster of 12 cells or more. That's just phenomenal. Emil Shandell will be our featured guest, I think, the 10th. Somehow I think they screwed up the date. Then David Brownstein returns. He's going to be with us on the 14th talking about his newest book entitled The Sword Deception. There'll be other guests. I promised to bring Ed Kane. We're going to cool off a bit with the fish oils and the fiber. It's very controversial, I know. I hope bringing the science to you, because the science will win out. Patients come in and tell me, you know what, there are other people calling other hosts from the radio station here, and they're asking about this thing, and those other doctors don't seem to know about it. And I just say, look, they're well-intended. They just don't have the information yet. It will be the science that wins the day, not where you are on your information schedule. Science has to win the day, and you've heard it here first. Now, one thing you had to catch yesterday, if you would, well, the depressing display for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I won't get into it, but of course, it was lit up again. If you didn't know it, you certainly knew it yesterday when you saw pink everywhere. Yes, we have arrived to Breast Cancer Awareness Month. It is a bugaboo of mine, but it really shouldn't be. Actually, we need to turn the tide on this. I think that the gesture, the intention is a noble one. To have women focus on breast cancer issues is absolutely positive. Setting that 1 month aside is a great thing because it gets everybody oriented to a very important subject. And the ladies need to have that reminder, and I'm sure they appreciate it. Problem is that although the intentions are good, the tool behind the intentions is not. It is a pooch, as you heard me describe it here before. It is a dog. You can't put lipstick on a pig, according to a previous vice presidential candidate. You can't do that because mammography is a bust. Mammography won't give you the information soon enough. The size of the tumor that could be detected can't be detected until approximately the size has attained 1 centimeter in growth. And by that time, metastases have already occurred. That is the problem with the tool. So I hope that you take all the pink that's coming at you. And by the way, somebody can call me from a truck driver once did it. I always remember him on this day. Was passing through the point down there. The fountain, no, the fountain isn't working. The fountain's off. No pink water sprayed this year. That's right. Okay, you can forget about giving me a call, whoever the truck driver was or will be. Nonetheless, we are smacking it dab in the middle of the October debacle. Please, this is the time to check out these breast health issues. The tool just needs to be changed. Thermography rules the day, not mammography. And we'll do a show on it before too long in the month, and I hope to get the girls from the Three Rivers Thermography to come on board. Okay. I believe that just about sets the tone. Why don't we do this? We're going to take a break right now. We're going to get a hold of our guest today. Faye Hueston's her name. That beautiful British accent of hers is going to come through once again. I could listen to her for hours, and if she talks about her health history, it will take hours to get it all off her chest. Be right back in a moment with Faye.
This is Dennis J. Courtney, MD. Have you become confused about how best to manage your health? It's no wonder. It seems that every time you turn on the television or radio, another expert has yet another suggestion for you to follow that seems to be reasonable enough, but no matter how dutifully you follow the instruction, it just doesn't quite produce the results that you are looking for. If this confusion sounds familiar to you, give us a call at the Center for Complementary Health, where we'll make some sense of the confusion based on a blending of traditional and alternative medicine that we've been perfecting over the last 7 years. We offer metabolic nutrition testing, immune system repair, natural hormone replacement therapy, chelation therapy, cutting-edge allergy correction, and a host of other safe and effective alternative therapies.
Dennis J. Courtney, MD, is located at 3075 Washington Road in McMurray. Phone 724-942-3002.
Have you been to the doctor lately? Was fatigue top of your complaint list? Even if your doctor asks you what you eat, the recommended 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day is a dream in your busy schedule. What if you learned of a product 5 years in the formulation that delivers 5 servings of fruits and minerals in just 1 ounce? That's right, it's Fruit of the Spirit. The blessings of Fruit of the Spirit are now formulated into a delicious whole fruit puree product rich in antioxidants and minerals. Your health is more than just a test result. It's a balance of physical, spiritual, and emotional factors. You work regularly to strengthen your faith, but Fruit of the Spirit help cover your nutritional needs in a convenient and cost-effective ounce a day. Call 1-800-442-3793 for a special promotional offer. Fruit of the Spirit, a blessing for your good health. Fruit of the Spirit, 5 servings of fruits and minerals with no added sugars. That's 1-800-442-3793 for your good health. Call them now, 1-800-442-3793.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back once again to AIM Impact on Your Health. Heard here on KHB 620 each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9 o'clock. I'm Dr. Dennis Courtney with you on this first October show. Yes, it absolutely looks like October outside. Our guest today, let me put it to you this way. How much would you hold up under an assault from the conventional medical community? Told that you were, in a sense, nuts, that it was all in your head. How far would you take it? To what lengths would you go to finally find out what the heck was really wrong with you? Well, that's enough of an appetizer to describe our guest saga today. Her name is Faye Hueston, and she has had a silent enemy in her life, an environmental illness that took a long time to identify, but her saga is tomed in a book entitled Silent Enemy, Environmental Illness and One Woman's Search for a Cure. And what a search that really was. We're with her right now. Let's say good morning and welcome back, Faye.
Thank you, Dr. Courtney. It's a pleasure to be with you again.
I absolutely enjoyed looking at and taking a look at the book that I once reviewed, and I had to tell you, as we were talking off air, that it did, once again, conjured up the same images and emotional responses that it did the first time around. To think that someone could bear up under such, to be told that there really was no answer, that it was all in your head, you never really did stand for that. And this will be unfolding here in the next few minutes as we once again discuss that book and your life. I'd like to kick it off, Faye, if you don't mind, by taking it back to the earliest stages of your life. You were born in the United States. You were born in California, correct?
Yes, I was. I grew up in Los Angeles.
Yes, you sure did. And the reason I mention it is because you grew up in a household where the religion of Christian Science was practiced, literally not relying on medical input at all. In fact, quite the contrary. And there's a point that you reach in your early days where, not for any other reason than health reasons, you give up that approach, the religious approach of Christian Science. Could you explain why?
Well, yes, I almost died at one point relying on it, which is actually in the present book that I've almost finished now. But I don't want to knock Christian Science. It's a lovely religion to be raised in, as long as you do see a doctor if you have a very serious problem. But the point that I make in the book about being a Christian Scientist is that I grew up, we didn't drink or smoke or use drugs, and I had a very healthy body. I grew up outside in a swimming pool and did all the things Californians do. So when my body started to collapse in my 40s, I couldn't understand why, because there was no reason to. And every doctor I went to ask, why do I have these strange symptoms when there's nothing I can explain, no way I can explain them, told me that, I mean, they did also offer tests, and I don't want to knock doctors either, but the tests showed that I was perfectly fine, because their tests don't show chemicals, and when you have chemicals in your body, you have to know what kind of a test to have to show what they are. And of course, at that point, I didn't know, so I was told that my symptoms were psychosomatic. One doctor even told me I was creating them to gain sympathy at home, which was a little bit insulting.
I'm sure it was. Let's take it back then to even those early days, because with the one event you had where really antibiotics was your rescue. You had a serious infection, and when you finally were treated by a conventional doctors and had to sort of forego the rules of the Christian Science faith, things went okay for a while, and you must have been way ahead of your time, because your medical issues really begin at or around and circumventing around breast implantation. Now, going back to those days in the 60s and so forth, well, no, the 70s, maybe we're in the 70s by now, you were ahead of your time with the breast implantation, weren't you, Faye? It wasn't too popular as a procedure back then as it is now.
Well, I was living in England. I lived there for 20 years, and I had breast cancer. I wish I had known then what I know now. I would never have had an operation, but I did. So the breast was removed, and I had an implant, which I was told was perfectly safe because it was encased. It wasn't the injections.
Dr. Courtney, we can't hear
which
her.
everybody knew were really...
Hey, would you speak up a minute?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Can you hear me now?
I hope you can. I hope we're coming. We got a little message in the back of my my headphones that speak up, Faye, and right into the telephone. Go ahead.
Right. Can you hear me now?
I believe so. Yes, I can see that we picked up. Yeah.
All right. Yes. I had a breast removed for cancer, and then I had an implant put in, and within a few weeks, my breast started to swell, and I couldn't understand why. It just got worse and worse, and so my doctor gave me more antibiotics, and finally I said, look, this isn't working, please remove the implant, which he did. And it was another year or two before I discovered what was wrong. I was full of chemicals, and the addition of the silicone implant was just the final thing that my body couldn't tolerate. It was just telling me, I can't take any more chemicals in your body.
Well, this issue with that final surgery, because I think it was your either fifth or sixth surgery to...
No, it was, I think it was second.
Second?
I don't remember now.
Okay, well, I see multiple surgeries here. We're finally at that last surgery.
Okay.
You leave the operating room, and upon emerging from your anesthetic, you begin to have a whole set of symptoms regarding your scalp and hip pain and the like that really kicks off a conundrum of multiple symptoms from that point forward that need to have an answer, yet elude everybody. What is that final kickoff? What was that thing? What were the symptoms that first developed that set you apart?
Yes, well, they were so varied. I had a whole kaleidoscope of symptoms. I had migraine headaches, which I had never had before. I had panic attacks and chronic fatigue syndrome, not steadily, but periods of it. And I had arthritis in my fingers where it became very hard to pick up a pen. But the worst one was hypersensitivity to...
You're maybe a little too close to the phone. Faye, you may be a little too close to the phone because...
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm trying to be as loud as
I know. Okay, now be loud. Just don't put your lips right up to the phone. I think
I'm sorry.
Back away. Okay.
Anyway, the worst symptom was being hypersensitive to everything in the environment, especially odors. I couldn't stand the smell of flowers. I was what was called at the time allergic to the 20th century. And it seemed as though I wasn't going to be able to live on this planet in that state if this went on.
Well, it looks as though, and I looked at the book in terms of the divisions of therapy that you pursued, and I've sort of put them in my own categories. I call them your different eras. Your first era that I look at that you described is, we're in the 70s. It's this me generation of those 70s, and I certainly remember it well. And it's so in your me era, you get onto a kick where you have experimented in just about every one of the therapies of that generation. I have listed here silva mind control, Simeon's visualization, transcendental meditation, self-healing. Tell us about your experience in that epic, because it was a number of years and you tried so many different things.
Yes, and I also went to allergy clinics, which was much more important, because while I do think the state of the mind is very important in healing, as someone who grew up with metaphysical healing, I still feel that you want to address the body primarily through the body. You need mind and body together. But I went to allergy clinics and learned an awful lot about what my problem was, but I still wasn't cured. I wasn't helped by them particularly. And so that was really what made me go through a period of strong depression. I thought, well, there is no answer to this. But of course, I do believe there is an answer to every problem. It's just that we haven't found it yet. Some of them we have and some we haven't, but we mustn't stop looking.
Well, you kept looking. The next era I see, and I mean, you really were involved with this era. You encountered a gentleman by the name of Bruce McManaway.
Oh yes.
And dowsing. Yeah, the dowsing period of your life, because you took this to the extreme extent. Could you describe that particular era and what you were going through and how it is? Were you helped by this dowsing, and if so, in what way?
Well, the dowsing, which again I go into much more to a larger extent in the book I'm finishing now, which should come out in the beginning of next year, that helped me primarily with, I don't know if your audience, all of them know what dowsing is. It's what is more commonly known as water divining, finding water under the ground with a forked stick. That's the way it originally originated. I didn't know that I was dowsing. My body was actually dowsing before I knew anything about it. I found that I couldn't sleep in my bed at night. I would wake up with a terrible headache around 1 or 2 in the morning, and I didn't know what was wrong. And I had taken several courses with this wonderful healer, Bruce McManaway, and I went to him to see if he could help me. And he said, "Have you had a dowser check your flat at my apartment?" And I said, "Well, no." And so he suggested I do, because he lives in Scotland and he couldn't. So I was put in touch with one of the finest dowsers in England, who came, and he found out very quickly what was wrong. This will sound very strange, but I was sleeping. My bed was placed. I lived on the 6th floor in an apartment building in London, and about 70 feet underneath the ground of this apartment building, there was a polluted stream, and apparently the radiations of this stream were affecting me. And the reason they were affecting me is not because I'm some special sort of person. It's because my immune system had collapsed. And when your immune system collapses, you are exposed to all sorts of physical energies that exist in the world, but of which we're not conscious when we're feeling fine and our immune system is intact.
So you were doused from up one side, down the other. You ultimately had to move, I'm sure.
I did.
The underwater, under the building stream wasn't going anywhere. So when you found more evidences of the fact that it was affecting you, you had to leave and move on. You've moved on many, many different times, Faye. This was just one of those.
Yes, but then I found I had other problems, so that only solved one.
That only solved one.
The other one.
Okay, let's move to another area. You take one of your daughters on a trip to New York because she's going to go to school. She's looking at schools here in the United States. And so another awakening occurs. Another era begins. New exposures to causing new symptoms that lead you to another compartmentalization of where you've got to go to get relief. This is the food era, as I see it. Can you describe that particular set of events?
Oh, yes. I had no idea that what I was eating, I knew that when I ate certain things, especially sugary things, and I love sweets and carbohydrates like most of us do, I wasn't aware that when I was aware that when I ate those things, my hands turned red, which was very odd. But I didn't think they could be contributing to my other symptoms. because you don't mix those two things together. But finally, I was led through a friend to go to the Gerson therapy in Mexico, which is a purely nutritional therapy. It actually is curing many incurable cancers solely through nutrition. But the nutrition is, it's all organic. It deals primarily with juices, raw vegetable juices. And it is as important what one eliminates from one's diet as what one eats. And that's very important, which an awful lot of people, I think, don't realize. You cut down on this and you cut down on that. But unless you eliminate the bad things entirely, like cutting out smoking, you're not going to be completely healed.
Well, you have jumped pretty quickly over what I thought was very interesting of how you came to really put yourself in the right medical hands. This Dr. G. Monroe was very important in guiding you and directing you to coming to grips with what your real problem was, is that you had environmental diseases, your exposures to literally anything. And I know I've had patients like you where every single solitary thing has the potential to trip off medical symptoms that are quite alarming. Describe that epoch and that era occurring quite a bit of time before the Gerson clinic shows up, but it's really the epiphany for you and gets you started on appreciating the environmental component to your problem.
Yes, I was so fortunate in having a friend who told me about Dr. Jean Monroe in England. She is a clinical ecologist. And do you have clinical ecologists in this country?
I don't think well, if we do, I don't know of one, and that's unusual. Yeah.
I don't know if we do or not, but anyway, I went to her after seeing all these doctors, after 3 years of being told that there was no answer, and it was in my mind. I went to see her because someone told me that she dealt with people who had strange symptoms like mine, and she knew almost immediately what was wrong. I filled out a questionnaire at her office, which was unlike any I had ever filled out before. Instead of asking me all the diseases and operations I'd had, she asked what kind of fabrics I used in my home, what kind of exposures chemical exposures I had. And I thought this was so interesting. Well, she immediately knew that what I had was chemical poisoning, but she didn't know to what degree, so she did a test, which actually was developed in this country, where you take a vacutainer of the patient's blood, sent it to, they were in Louisiana at the time, and it came back showing precisely what chemicals I had in my body. Pesticides, primarily pesticides, things like hexachlorobenzene, which is found in dry cleaning products, derivatives of DDT, which is forbidden, but which is still being exported to the third world, and then comes back to us on our imported vegetables, which they spray there with DDT, and then we eat here. So we don't even know some of the poisons that we are eating in our diet, which is why it's so important, if you can, to eat organically. But anyway, there were all these different things in my blood, which I had no idea, in my body fat actually. So once I knew what was wrong with me, that was such a relief. At least I knew that I wasn't crazy. And she started treating me, and her treatment was similar to, what's going on in my mind? Anyway, she injected you with the antigen of the thing that she thought you were allergic to, and then you would see what the reaction.
Oh, desensitization.
Desensitization, that was it. The word was too long. It escaped my mind. So that was what I did, and then after that, they put the things that the antigens into a little bottle, and you put them under your tongue. And I did that. I did her therapy for about 2 years, and it was very helpful. But then I got to a point where it was no longer helpful because I was still absorbing more and more toxins. And I just got to the point where I was too toxic to be helped by this gentle and very good therapy.
Well, that does set you up for the Gerson approaches that will then follow. One interesting thing while you're in this era of being finally schooled and educated on exactly what the problems are, once you know that you move into the environmental arena and then could take the proper steps to move along a pathway to get this resolved, that really is the beginning of the potential solution that looms somewhere down the road. The road is still rather long, but at least you're on the right path. Don't you feel that's a way to look at this in terms of it was Jean Monroe that got you guided down the right pathway at least?
Oh, yes. Well, she was the one who told me what was wrong with me, who proved it. And I needed that proof. Once I knew what the problem was, then there was just the question of finding the solution. But when you don't know what's wrong with you, and you keep getting more and more ill with more strange symptoms, it really is rather scary. You think you're the only person in the world like this, and you're not. There are millions of people who are going through this right now. I'm not the only one. I just wrote about it because I felt that I hope that what I went through and what I've seen others go through, it might help those who don't know yet what is affecting them.
Okay, by the way, I still think you got your lips too close to the phone.
All right.
Okay, we're having a little trouble there. Let's back away from the phone just a bit.
I
Speak loud. I think that's it right there. That distance right there ought to be fine.
All right.
Yes. The issue of there's a therapy or a practice that you really got involved in that I'm intrigued with because I only heard about it in your book. And yet each and every time I've now read it, it comes back to beg more questions from me. And that is your experience with the pendulum. Pendulum therapies, pendulum experience where you literally almost took out an entire building in London, I think, because of the use of the pendulum. What was the pendulum? What is the pendulum used for? How was it that you were introduced to it? Because it did have a prominent place in your treatment regime.
I do want to correct an impression. It wasn't instrumental in my healing at all. It was instrumental in finding things that I was allergic to or responding to or affected by. But I'm a little bit cautious about people who say they can heal with the pendulum because I'm not sure, at least I didn't find that worked for me, and I got very involved with the pendulum, but I just don't want people to think, you know, if someone says, come to me and I can diagnose and heal you with the pendulum, I personally can't say that always works.
What was the therapy? Because it's intriguing to me about how it even becomes a therapy. What's the intention behind the use of the pendulum?
Well, the pendulum, it's a very old usage. As far as we know, I think it goes back to Germany. And the Germans accept this quite naturally. I mean, they've been using the pendulum for years to find energy lines, which have many different. Dowsers all have a different vocabulary. So some call an energy line a black stream. Others call it, as I do, an energy line, because that's what I think it is. I do go into this in great detail in my next book, and I don't want to spend too much time on it now because
we will bring you back.
Well, it didn't have anything to do with my actual healing. That's why I don't want to get into it. It's fascinating, and it's an endlessly fascinating subject, but it didn't heal me.
Well, fair enough for now. How about if we wait until you write about it in your next book, and then you can really go into depth and describe pendulum therapy on your return. Fair enough, Faye?
I would love to.
Okay. This Gerson experience, when you take a trip, by the way, you take more trips. You took more trips. You went everywhere to find whoever it was that you thought could help. How is it that you learned that such a clinic existed? Because it was in another part of the world, in Mexico, where Charlotte, Max Gerson kicked this thing off. Charlotte continues even to this very day. Tell us about how you learned about the Gerson Clinic, and then your meeting of Charlotte Gerson and how you then did with respect to her therapies at that clinic.
Well, again, I was extremely fortunate. I had a friend in England who had been diagnosed with cancer, and she had had 2 operations, and finally her oncologist said, "I'm sorry, but the cancer kept coming back," and he said, "You have only a 50-50 chance if we do another operation." She felt that wasn't good enough. So she had heard through a friend about the Gerson therapy, which was only then, this is back in the 70s, which was only then starting up in Mexico. Dr. Gerson, when he came here to this country from Germany, he was a refugee from Hitler's Germany, he established a clinic in New York, and he died in 58. And his daughter, Charlotte, has carried on his work. So it was just getting started then, and nobody knew about it except a very few people. But she went there because you only go to these so-called strange alternative places when you're desperate. She went there. She stayed for 3 weeks. She came back, and it's a therapy you do at home, and it is all nutritional. And when she came back, I didn't think she was going to make it. She looked awful, but she was already beginning to detoxify, and that's the most difficult part of the therapy. But she did it for over a year, and she now, this was back in the 70s, she now travels all over the world. She's Hungarian, and she speaks 5 languages. So she travels all over the world, sending people to the Gerson therapy who have inoperable or terminal cancers, so-called. And she has been responsible for saving more lives. And anyway, she told me about this when I said, I don't know what to do, because my immune system's broken down, I don't know where to go. And she said, you must do the Gerson therapy. And I said, but I don't have cancer, because by then I had already had cancer. And she said, it doesn't matter. It does 2 things. It detoxifies the body, and it rebuilds the immune system. And I knew that was what I needed. So I went to the Gerson therapy. I went to Mexico. I stayed there just 2 weeks, and I came back and started to do it at home. Only organic food, raw vegetable juices. I had to hire a person to help me, because when you start dumping these poisons out of your bloodstream out of your body fat into your bloodstream, you are very sick indeed, because they come in little incremental doses. You absorb them over years, and suddenly a great big amount of chemicals will start dumping out of your body fat into the bloodstream. You've got to get rid of them very quickly, or you can be poisoned. So it was a very difficult thing the first few months. After that, it got easier. But bit by bit, I got well. And today, I'm healthier than I was 30 years ago.
And so you do attribute your experience, 2 weeks, that's all it was. I didn't realize it was such a short period of time. 2 weeks with Gerson folks down there in Mexico got you...
No, that was only 2 weeks at the clinic to get started and to learn about it.
Exactly.
But I did it for 18 months. It isn't a quick,
I wouldn't.
A quick fix.
No, I wasn't going to try to intimate that that's all you needed was 2 weeks. But it got you started so that over the next, do you feel 18 months is what it took you to get all those toxins out?
Yes, approximately. And I would like to point out something very interesting. I did exactly the same regime that the cancer patients did. I think I was the only environmental illness person there at that time. I think I was the first one they had, because everyone else was there because they had been given up by their doctors, and they had terminal cancer. And several of them I know still to this day who were cured. Not everyone is cured, because some people go too late. But I did the same therapy they did. Nothing was different. We all detoxified our bodies the same way. I got rid of all of my strange symptoms. They got rid of their cancer. So there is something that we're not doing in our daily lives. And I think it's that we are living in a very toxic world. And we are eating toxic food and breathing toxic air. It's very hard to get rid of these poisons. We're exposed to them everywhere. And we just have to find ways to avoid them as much as possible.
All right. Why don't we do this, Faye? Why don't we take a short break? When we come back, I'd like for you to pick up on this issue of, are you blessed are you demonized by this? Because, you know, people are being assaulted by these toxins. They don't have a clue. And yet they're weighing in on them ultimately to create some pretty serious diseases sometimes down the line. In your case, so sensitive to everything, is that been something that now you look at it in the past as something that you were thankful for, or it was a curse? How about that question when we return? Fair enough?
All right, fine.
Okay. We've got her with us, folks. It's Faye Hueston talking about her own silent enemy. She's an environmental victim who is now better thanks to, well, a whole bunch of people. We're going to get back to that main question, a curse or a blessing, in just a moment.
Help your family eat healthier? Instead of learning to disguise tofu in wondrous ways, how about some real nutritional power? If your family has the typical American palate for fries, pizza, and burgers, giving your family the blessing of good nutrition is a struggle. Fruit of the Spirit is the answer for your family's nutritional needs. Fruit of the Spirit is an all-natural, whole fruit puree made from fresh fruits native to the Holy Land with alkalizing minerals. Fruit of the Spirit was 5 years in the formulation, the work of a team of top nutritional experts with independent science to confirm its antioxidant power. 1 ounce a day provides the equivalent of 5 servings of fruits and minerals. Fruit of the Spirit is convenient, affordable, and delicious. Even your picky family will sing the praises of Fruit of the Spirit. Give your loved ones the blessing of good nutrition. Call 1-800-442-3793 for a special promotional offer. Fruit of the Spirit, a blessing for your good health. That's 1-800-442-3793. Call them now, 1-800-442-3793.
This is Dennis J. Courtney, MD. Have you become confused about how best to manage your health? It's no wonder. It seems that every time you turn on the television or radio, another expert has yet another suggestion for you to follow that seems to be reasonable enough, but no matter how dutifully you follow the instructions, just isn't going to produce results that you are looking for. If this confusion sounds familiar to you, give us a call at the Center for Complementary Health, where we'll make some sense of the confusion based on a blending of traditional and alternative medicine that we've been perfecting over the last 7 years. We offer metabolic nutrition testing, immune system repair, natural hormone replacement therapy, chelation therapy, cutting-edge allergy correction, and a host of other safe and effective alternative therapies.
Dennis J. Courtney, MD, is located at 3075 Washington.
Do you have her there?
Murray. Phone 724-942-3002.
Hey, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back once again to AM Impact on Your Health. I know we've been having some audio troubles. We've tried to resolve them by actually reestablishing contact on another line. We have Faye Hueston with us this morning. She's written a book. I guess it's her first, huh? Silent Enemy, Environmental Illness and One Woman's Search for a Cure. She's with us again. Faye, are you with us, my dear?
Yes, I am.
Oh, boy, are you coming through loud now? I can tell. It's been resolved. I think we're all resolved. Sorry for that, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure you would have loved to have heard her a little more clearly. I think it's fixed now, Faye.
Fine.
All right. Now, I wanted to ask you. I left with a question, and I would put myself in a category of a person that I'm sure I'm loaded with toxins, except I don't respond to these toxins in the way you did. I'm not telegraphed about how saturated my fat is with these. And so, on one hand, it's good for me because I'm not feeling as bad as you did. On the other hand, I'm being assaulted with these toxins every single day, and I don't have any way of knowing it. You seems like no matter what the heck it was, the most minute amount of any substance could trigger violent symptoms. Do you look at this now in retrospect as a curse or a blessing?
Well, the experience I look on as a blessing because I learned so much from it. But I don't believe, and I must say there were times during the experience when I thought maybe I am cursed, but I don't know why because I don't think I've done anything that sinful in my life. But I'm not a very religious person. I'm not now, and I really realized that I had a problem. But you know, we are all different. We are all Our bodies are different. Our metabolism is different. And you probably have a much stronger immune system than I did. I've always been rather sensitive other ways, so I think that my immune system broke down more easily than maybe someone else's.
Well, wasn't it really that your immune system was so hyper-reactive? I mean,
Yes.
It wasn't as though it was crashed. It was so acutely sensitive to no matter what it was exposed to, it went off on a completely way out of overblown response to whatever you presented it with. Isn't that really the case?
It is the case, but I'm not the only one this has happened to.
Oh, I'm sure of that.
It's important to realize that this is not just me. And the reason I wrote the book is because in the allergy clinics, I met many people who were even more sensitive than I was. Some couldn't stand being near an electrical outlet. I mean, some of them had symptoms that you wouldn't even believe. But that's because their immune systems were totally shattered. And there are just many people who are in this condition. They don't realize what the cause is. So they think there's something wrong with them, when what's wrong is the environment we're living in.
Well, I think it's interesting that you would look at the experience as, that the suffering that you went through. In all those years, you still do look at the whole thing as a blessing. The experience is a blessing, and you had to do a lot of suffering to come to that conclusion. And I think it bespeaks of you. I don't know if anybody else would say the same. They would maybe look at it as a curse. It's just Faye Hueston who says it is a blessing. But I thought I'd like to ask the question and see your response.
You know, it's a blessing because how else can you help others if you haven't been through the experience yourself? I mean, you can read all the books about the environment and what to avoid and all this, but if someone has been through an experience that you can relate to, then they can help you more than somebody who just, preaches at you. So I feel that this was given to me as something I had to experience so that I could help others. And I have been able to help a few people, so it's all worthwhile.
Well, your book is more than likely helping many more people than you ever know. And so to the extent that you were able to document in a pretty good fact, folks, I got to tell you, she's great. She's great with a pen, and I would recommend this book to anybody. By the way, tell our listeners how to get this book or any website information or anything at all who might have environmental challenges and would appreciate knowing more about Faye Hueston. How do they do it?
Well, the book can be obtained, of course, through Amazon or any of the bookstores that are still left standing. They're going out
They are.
quickly, although it is in e-book format as well. My website is www.silentenemy.net, and there's some more information there that might be of interest, information about the dangers of fluoride and things like that. There's also a place where anyone can put a message if they want. I've had some people, leave messages. I can get back to them and answer any questions they have.
Now, for those who are listening, maybe haven't gotten your book yet, and hear that you triumphed over this medical foray of yours over many, many years, and pretty much brought it down to the fact that with the Gerson technique of good nutrition, a lot of juicing, if I'm not mistaken. Well, why don't you fill us in on the various components of the Gerson technique? 18 months later, would you say that I wouldn't use the word cured because I'm sure you battle these demons every day, but you have a control over these now that you never had before. What were the components of the Gerson therapy that you felt brought you to that point?
Well, the components are exactly what people are now talking about as though this is new knowledge. Dr. Gerson discovered this when he was curing himself of migraine headaches way back in the 1930s. And when he came to this country and said he could cure cancer purely through proper nutrition, he was attacked. He was attacked by the American Cancer Society, FDA, everyone. I mean, he did this when this was not even considered possible. Now, of course, everyone is saying, yes, you should juice. Juicing vegetables is healthy, which of course it is. and vegetables and fruits are healthy. We should cut down on junk food and salt. But Dr. Hueston was preaching this 50, 60 years ago and being attacked and persecuted, actually, for it. So, it takes a pioneer about 60 years before his discoveries are accepted as new by everybody else. But anyway, it's basically raw vegetable juices, but the important thing is to have only organic vegetables, because if you juice vegetables that are heavily sprayed with chemicals. Rachel Carson, in her wonderful book, Silent Enemy, she points out that if you juice carrot, a non-organic carrot, the chemicals are more concentrated in the juice than they were if you ate the carrot. That's kind of frightening, isn't it?
It certainly is. And once again, Rachel Carson comes up. I told you last time we were on the air, we are fond with Rachel because she's right from our area. She's in a little place called, she was born and raised in a little place called Springdale, Pennsylvania. It's just up the road here.
Yes.
So we're very familiar with Rachel.
Wonderful woman. Oh.
Absolutely. The detoxification, the nutrition side is clear.
Yes, also, I should say, it's not just juices. And then flood your body with food. I mean, I never had so much food as when I went to the clinic. And there were times when I thought, oh, if only I could fast. I just don't want to eat. But it is all only healthy food. There are no dairy products, no salt, no sugar, none of the things that we sort of like in our daily life. But it's all life-giving, wonderful food. And you can almost feel your body saying, thank you, thank you.
On that detoxification side I wanted to get to, I'm pretty much aware that there should be a lot of coffee ground enemas are a big part of the Gerson therapy. Am I incorrect in this, or am I correct?
Yes.
Correct. So the detoxification side, when you're dumping all these chemicals, you have to have a way of getting rid of them, and elimination of use of the various kind of urine and fecal matter and so forth are the best ways to do it. The frequency of these enemas is it's pretty daunting, is it not?
Well, it seems so at the beginning, but you see, if you're suddenly putting a lot of chemicals into your bloodstream, you've got to get them out quickly, or they can be poisoned. And Dr. Pearson discovered this. So the coffee enema was discovered in the First World War in Germany. I don't know how they discovered it, but they did. That if you put someone a coffee, it draws the toxin out through the liver. It affects the liver bile system. And what they do is quickly expel the poisons that are released by the juices from the body fat. It's vital to expect to get rid of these quickly. But the caffeine, the way it works is the caffeine dilates the bile duct and stimulates an enzyme system in the liver that allows it to release accumulated toxins and remove free radicals from the bloodstream. And that is crucial to this whole healing operation. You put good things in, and you have to get the bad things out rather quickly. And it's wonderful. I mean, even today, I only take it occasionally, but if I suddenly get a headache, which is very rare, but if I feel one coming, I don't even get it. But if I feel one coming on, or I just feel mildly toxic, I'll take a coffee enema, and it's gone. It's gone within 5 minutes, which is proof that the cause is that I've absorbed some more
of those toxins.
When I filled up my car at the gasoline station, I breathed in those fumes or whatever.
Once again, your sensitivity is, you're foretelling it. How many times I fill up my car with gasoline? I'm so fortunate I don't feel as nauseous and sick as you can become. And that just speaks more of your chemical sensitivity that has been a blessing for you in allowing you to embark upon this epic experience of yours, which you're now documenting in a second book. Could you, because we only have a few minutes left, could you talk us about what's on the drawing board, when it's going to be released, what this book is all about? Because I got a feeling we can have you return not too far in the distant future to discuss a brand new tome. What is it?
Well, my next book isn't at all about health, really. it's a different subject entirely. It's all about growing up as the adopted daughter of two very extraordinary people and finding my birth parents when I was in my 40s and what I discovered. But it has a little bit about health because it describes my early life. But I really can't relate it to this. Totally different, but it goes into a very different area.
We'll be looking forward to it. When do you think it might be released?
Well, it should be finished by the end of this year. I'm just polishing it now. It's virtually finished. I hope the early part of the year, January or February. And actually, it's my third book. I should have pointed out. My third book is the one that goes completely into the dowsing and the paranormal. And that book is so far out that I left it for the last one because I didn't think anyone would believe it.
It's so far out, huh?
Unless I first establish my respect for truth.
Well, I got a feeling that there's going to be a lot of interest in that far out book because things like dowsing and pendulum, this is something that I don't think from an American view, I don't know about the European side, but from the American side, we're just not familiar with. And I'll be looking forward to that way out book that hopefully it's the one that's going to be released. Is that the one that's coming up?
No. The one on adoption is coming.
Okay, one on adoption is coming up. Well, we'll hope to return with you, Faye. We got bongers in the background signaling our time out of here. It's been lovely reacquainting ourselves with you. Thank you so much for sharing your saga with us. Until next time, then, ladies and gentlemen, this is Dr. Dennis Courtney with Ms. Faye Hueston saying so long for AM Impact on Your Health.
Thank you. It's a great pleasure.
AM Impact on Your Health is sponsored by Dennis J. Courtney, M.D., Director of the Courtney Medical Group, located at 3075 Washington Road in McMurray, Pennsylvania. For more information or to make an appointment, call 724-942-3002. That's